we welcome you all for a webinar on
Okay.
leadership excellency in healthcare, issues and challenges. On this happy occasion, I would like to welcome all the delegates and speakers for this webinar today. Just briefly, I will brief about our academy that is called Twintech Academy. It has a panel of experienced faculty from diverse branches of healthcare and management and has ambitious plans to provide expertise in various fields like healthcare management division, healthcare education division, healthcare management training division, consultancy and counseling division. More detail about our academy, just visit ChennaiTwintech.com. These are the programs so far conducted by our academy. Thanks to our well-wishers and the senior members for their support and their blessings. And this is some of our well-wishers' voices about our academy. Thanks to Chitkara University for affiliate this program, joining with us for conducting this program today. More detail about Chitkara University, just visit the given website. This is the agenda for today's program. I request Dr. Ramakrishnan to briefly introduce our faculty, Dr. Mohammed Arif. Over to Professor Ramakrishnan.
Good afternoon. Welcome, Dr. Arif. Welcome, Dr. Jairaj Shekhar.
Thank you.
And friends. It is a great pleasure today for me, Mr. Mahalingam and Twintech Academy to organize this kind of a webinar with two very eminent speakers, eminent achievers who are going to share their profound experiences with you all. The first speaker of the evening is going to be Dr. Mohammed Arif, who has got a myriad of experience being a doctor himself, and he's an MPhil, MBA, Frankfurt IHM, BSc Certified Internal Auditor, Certified Internal Auditor for NABH, Business Analyst UK. He has got a plethora of organizational experience and one of the finest operational leaders. He has been associated with various institutions, including Coventry Hospital, Apollo Spectra, and he has also dabbled in Women Insurance Company. And he was a medical director also with the Star Health group of companies. He has organized so many programs, more than 25 of health awareness program. And it is a very great pleasure for us to welcome you, Dr. Arif, and your qualifications and experience are so many that I think, I will request the audience to go carefully through the slide and understand more about Dr. Mohammed Arif. Because of want of time, I would request Dr. Arif to start his session. Welcome, Dr. Arif.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Ramakrishnan. I'm audible. I'm able to hear my voice.
Just 1 second, sir. Just 1 second. I request Dr. Ramakrishnan to also introduce the next speaker.
Let me. Hello. Hello. We have to. We have this evening yet another distinguished person in Professor J. Rajashekar. Now, he has got also a varied background in hospital management and operation research. He's a principal at College of Administration, Somerville Memorial, Karakonam, Thiruvananthapuram. He has a wide experience in hospital management. He has been a consultant, and he had been to Sri Lanka and Maldives for the purpose of providing consultancy engagements. He has prepared more than 25 study material to his credit in various universities. Again, due to want of time, there is a lot to be talked about Dr. Jayasekar as well as Dr. Arif. But I stop with this because of the time factor and request the audience to watch their presentation now. May I invite Dr. Arif first to start his session. Thank you.
Dr. Arif, just 1 second.
Yeah.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yes, Dr. Arif.
Okay. Is it okay? I can start now.
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Ramakrishnan, for your brief introduction. Good morning to one and all. I'm really appreciate for conducting this webinar. Excellent topic today: leadership excellence in healthcare issues and challenges. I'm going to present a 30 minutes time, and maybe 20 minutes I will finish it off, and another 5 minutes we can have a discussion. First of all, I'm delighted to take this topic through my experience in past decade and India and international. I have made it as much as simple, whatever I could bring it to your knowledge. First of all, let me take through the slides. The first slides today is the learning objectives. Well,
Audio.
I'm able to audible.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
First of all, I'm joining from London. It's a time here 4.5 hours behind the Indian schedule. Weather is very nice, very cloudy, and Chennai, it's very hot, I believe, 34 degrees centigrade. Yeah.
Yes,
am I right?
yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Let us take to the slide. Today's learning objectives, or the first topic for myself, is leadership in healthcare. Is it different from other industries? The next topic would be matching global quality standard benchmarking, India versus other countries, how we performed in the past. And the next topic would be staying ahead of competition. So how to stay ahead of the competition. And then the fourth section or topic would be the keeping pace with the technological innovation and healthcare using artificial intelligence and machine learning and healthcare data analytics. Just to move up, sir, just slide. The next topic would be leadership in post-COVID-19. This is my topic. I'm going to take it through. Well, this slide shows the definition or the quote about the leadership. We have been we have seen many leadership quotes available. We are countering day-to-day leadership issues, and we are seeing a lot of leadership quotes available in the website or in anywhere. But what I like personally, the quote which is related to healthcare, which is the former president of the United States of America, Ronald Reagan, said once, the greatest leader is not a necessary that the one who does the greatest things. He's the one that gets the people to do the greatest things. Yes, the true leader. What we have to do in healthcare setting, we have to get the works done, get the people to do the greatest things. That's what the leadership. Sir, please do not change. Go back to the slides. Oh, leadership is in everywhere, sir. It's the leadership in everywhere, at home, in a small shop. It's not mean to be a big organization or anywhere. Even you can see leadership in the animals, the birds. The typical example, we can see the leadership from the eagle. See a lot of learning aspects from the eagle. What matters? The leadership in everywhere. The leaders are different. So that's what we are going to discuss today. The leadership is different from other industries. Yes, it's different. Why it is different? Because healthcare is very complex, multi-complex, and then we get along with, as a leader, we get along with the various levels of approach, various levels of team, right from the physician, right from the housekeeping worker and the nursing community. And we recent time, we face a lot of unprecedented challenges like a COVID. So the real leadership is different. The real leadership is really important in healthcare setting, and it's slightly different. The leadership is the same, but what matters, the leadership style and the characters are matters. So let us see the next slide. Why the leadership style matters in this industry? Because healthcare, we compare with the cottage industry. So move on to the next slide. Cottage industry, where as a hospital, we have to work closely with many numerous industry like a pharmacy. Sir, move on to the next slide, please. Yeah. For example, as a hospital is alone will not function. It was a tie-up with the diagnosis and imaging laboratories, and we have to have close coordination with the payers, and then urgent care, pharmacy, and patients, primary care, regional laboratory. All those numerous separate enterprises work together and deliver healthcare services to the community. So these cottages are trading partners among themselves for healthcare providers. To the end result, we provide healthcare service to the patient. That is why it matters.
Sir, kindly unmute and do the program.
Now, okay, sir?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So, as I mentioned to you, I'm sorry about it. And I mentioned to you, the leadership approach can be adapted to healthcare setting. But what most leadership skills are important is the following leadership, which I have mentioned, which is day to day we are encountering. The one which we have mentioned is transformer leadership. The transformer leadership mentioned from the traditional way to the modern way, it focuses on supervision and organization group performance. Collaborative, we ask our team work closely and take their own decision. And very often we used to encounter the conflict management. As a leader, we need this skill to manage the team, and then next come to shared leadership. So it is encourages themselves governance and continuous workplace learning, development of effective work relationship. Ethical, yes, we need to focus. We need to train people to understand the ethical values and
ரமேஷ் ரெண்டு
culture
பேரும்
of the
கூப்பிட்டுட்டான்
organization.
ஃபோன் பண்ணி 6 மணிக்கு கூப்பிடுவேன்னு சொல்லி
Then
Conference
finally, it
center.
comes to the function-related oriented leadership. It's a type of challenges the clinician face when leading within the complex setting of the modern healthcare service. So what finally we understand is the key to understand the difference between managing change and the leading change. It's a lot of difference. As a leader, we have to lead the change. Managing change can be the manager can do the manager change. So next slide, sir. So what defines a true leader in healthcare? There are 4 definitions which have gone through in many literature, which I wanted to tell you. The leaders envisions a desired future. A leader having a vision for optimal working environment in the critical part of leadership. The leader should have vision to take the company forward and an organization forward. Next comes to leaders foster innovation and change. Today's healthcare leaders are challenged to think new ways, and especially in the COVID era, the leaders have to think innovation way, innovatively doing the things will lead to the success of the organization. Leaders build effective team. As I mentioned to you, hospital, the cottage industry, we need a multi-level teams, right from the physicians team or clinical team or non-clinical team, operation team. A right leader who trusts the team members, challenge them the learning opportunity. We have to provide the learning opportunity for them to grow. The next comes to leaders create positive work culture. A leader who admits mistakes, if any mistakes happen, it's not necessarily that all the aspects, all the efforts will go successfully. Sometimes it may go wrong. So a leader should accept the ownership. Situation can demonstrate an importance of acting accountability. First of all, the accountability is a key part in any leadership. Yeah. So next, sir. Next. So this is quite interesting. We will be knowing about this. What is manager? What is a leader? The leadership is equal to effectiveness. The management is efficiency. A leader who does the right thing. A manager doing the things right. So what is the qualities of the leadership? He change management, challenging the status quo and focus on future. A manager or management oiling the machine, maintaining the status quo, input-output relationship. This is a key changes. It's a key difference we could see as a leader and manager. In simple, the leadership action is relational. The emphasis is on the building shared understanding to the enable changes with the challenges issue. In simple, the leadership in healthcare is multitasking, challenging, more focused. It all depends on the individual skills, how he take it, the company forward, or the organization forward. Hope it clears from how it matters, how it differs from other industry. Leadership is so important. Let me take Sir, can I just move on to the next? So the next session is what I'm going to take through is leadership challenges. The next slide, please. Let me take you through the global challenges in healthcare, what we have understood from various countries, various continents. There are various different challenges. For example, in UK, there is no private participation. the entire healthcare is managed by NHS, I mean 90%. And therefore, there are long waiting period for fixed surgeries or fixed consultation. In Europe, you see, entire Europe, we see a lot of aging population, relatively high costs. And India, as you know, population growth and budgeting constraints and the quality issues. Though we attract many medical travel customers or medical travel patients from various countries, we really face the quality issues. That is hindering, we are lag behind the medical travel next to Thailand or Singapore. In GCC, we face a lot of population growth, chronic affluent disorders and genetic disorders problems. Africa, lack of appropriate healthcare services, lack of quality. In Canada, long waiting time, shortage of healthcare resources. These are all global changes which I wanted to take you understand the global challenges in healthcare. The next slide. Next slide, sir. So let me make you understand what are the challenges healthcare provider. Sir, slide before. As an industrial, what are the challenges that we face? And the institutional, what are the challenges we might face as a healthcare provider? Industrial, there are uncertainties are quite common in this industry. For example, we have this pandemic situation. Every hospital lagging behind the technologies and resources to meet the requirements. So this is one of the challenges we are facing nowadays and in the past also. And the demand for the new levels of quality. Every day the quality and the healthcare developing. So we need to fulfill their requirements and maintain the international qualities become challenged nowadays. Rapid growth of non-traditional competitors. Yes, every day the new competitors, non-traditional competitors are growing in various aspects. You can say online medications, online selling products which you have to meet everyday requirements. Nowadays, they're moving from the episodic care to managing chronic disease. For example, rehabilitation is coming up very well in India. So from the acute care to managing chronic care, it's a challenge. We don't have infrastructure in India. And finally, the cost variation. Look at the hybrid hospital in India and the primary care, a small clinic, the cost variation from the outpatient settings to inpatient setting. It's huge, which I could not see in any other country. This cost variation, how are you going to manage this cost variation? How are you going to meet the requirements, those who pay high and low, premium or cost? And every day it's become challenge for technology requirement. Now we are facing challenges for the COVID testing. These are all industrial challenges we could see in healthcare settings. What challenges we may face in institutional level as a hospital? Let me put it in a different way, actually. Let me put it in a two different way as external and internal. External, as a hospital, there has been recently a government amendment for a minimum wages for our nurses. Yes, this is still going on. Still, this will be a challenge for us in future. How are you going to maintain? How are you going to manage our cost optimization or cost control, for especially for operational cost? If there's going to be a minimum wages, still there are small hospitals. They may face problem. They may face changes. This may lead to the cost of the product may increase. For example, the fees may go up, or the entire health expenses may go up. Second comes to insurance regulation. Insurance industry is growing very nicely. Health insurance doing very nicely, privately and public funded insurance regulation. And this has become a real challenge. How are you going to meet the requirements or the challenges of insurance requirements or insurance regulation? The government schemes and tariffs are become very tight nowadays, and they are closely monitoring how as a hospital we are going to meet the challenges. Internally, it's a long time challenge retaining the trained medical resource. If you see the healthcare workers and changing organization to organization is a real challenge for the hospital or clinics or private hospitals. And then comes to the expectation versus available facilities. Most of the hospital, they set up a hospital and they buy higher end equipments, but they really don't do the due diligence. What is the expectation? What is expected demand versus available facilities? This is what we do mistakes. So we have to be prepared for any expectation in future. And then comes to available technologies. As a hospital, are we having equipped with the available latest technology at par with international standard? These are all the challenges now today we are facing in India as a private hospitals and private healthcare providers. Next. Next. So next topic comes to the matching global quality standard and benchmarking. Let me take you through the quality standards, what I have gone through the literature, how we perform in the past. The next slide, sir. Well, the medical tourism travel in recent years, it as a key factor for us to prepare international quality standards in imperative to ensure safety of the patients and providers. Internationally, Joint Commission International and HON already made an initial step to address the issues. So medical tourism is a key factor because various international travelers are coming to India, various hospitals. They are looking for a quality standards. They compare with their own country's standards, and they really look for accreditation. When they are going to send the patients from international agency, medical agency, they look for accreditation. Therefore, in today's world, the international standards and accreditation very much important in priority to keep our standards with the international benchmarking standards. Yeah. So who says a well-functioning health system? Let me put it in this way: properly trained resource, adequately paid workforce, well-maintained facilities, access to reliable information. These are the 4 factors which determines the well-functioning organization and steady functioning financing mechanism. Next, sir. This is the slide which I've seen. The study data in 2020, which they have taken from the HAQ index, Healthcare Access and Quality Index. This study determines every country healthcare standards. Where we are today now, I have put it in a flash news. India ranked 112 behind the neighboring country like China, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. It's a very alarming situation. It's alarming information. We are far behind the international HIQ standard. According to the Global Burden Disease, India has seen improvements in healthcare access quality since 1990. There has been a drastic improvement from 1990 to 2016, and thereby there is a slowdown. 2016, India's healthcare access quality score is 41.2. From 21.7 to 41, it jumped from 1990. However, we could see a lot of positive aspects recent days that Indian government has taken an initiative, that Indian government has taken healthcare as a national priority. Thereby, the lot of leading policy and programs announced in this government, National Health Policy, Ayushman Bharat. This is all very, very good program, bridge between the gap between the lack of resources, lack of available facilities in India. We hope the best would come in near future. Next slide, sir. Next. Let me take you to the snapshot, global healthcare by numbers. Though there are many parameters we can compare the quality standards in healthcare with internationally, let me take you through a few important quality parameters that directly relate to the quality standards. First of all, global healthcare spending projected increase annually 5.4% from 2018 to 20 in all over the world. It's a global percentage, but in India, we are only 3.6% of the GDP as per OECD. This is far behind in any of the developing countries. And the next comes to per person healthcare spending. Wide range from $11,000 from United States. In Pakistan, in India, it's only 1,257 rupees, which is quite tiny and very small. The life expectancy of the person or people 73.5 in 2008. It may go up to 74.4 in 2022, according to the research. And Indian life expectancy rises to 68.7 years. And then it comes to non-communicable disease. India facing a lot of problems in not only the communicable disease, also a non-communicable. So diabetes, we are the leading capital diabetics in the world. So which counts for 40% on all other diseases. Non-communicable diseases are challenging for India to manage for chronic health care or diabetes or cancer treatment. While all over the world, 71% of the 61.9 million deaths. It counts for 40% of the deaths due to non-communicable disease in India. The next comes to the pollution, environmental factors, which is China has got highest statistics. That means 831 deaths in 1,000 deaths. In India, 73 deaths in 1,000 deaths. So we are a little below, but it's quite high in number in among other countries. Next, sir. So let us see how the healthcare access and quality improvement trend from 1990 to 2016. India gradually growing from 1990 to 2016, 16.5%. Look at the Bangladesh, it's a small country, they are growing about 29.8%. There may be so many factors, but still we have to focus our healthcare improvement projects, healthcare quality improvement projects. We expect the better things to come in future. Next, sir. Let me take you through certainly, like, how the accreditation important, and with the various countries, what are the accreditation organization that monitors the quality standards of the country. Look at India. India has launched the accreditation system in 2006, confirming the standards accredited by ISKIWA, International Standard for Quality Organization, which is based in UK and USA. At the national level, the NABH, National Accreditation Board of Hospitals, set up in 2005. It's again reaccredited with the international organization ISKIWA. NABH model sets standard applicable for the different types of healthcare facilities. Recently, they have started a small healthcare groups that started giving accreditation. What it gives, how it helps, it encourages and incentivizes the environment of the quality improvement, including regular monitoring, the incidence of medical errors and mortality rates and the patient satisfaction index, employee satisfaction rate, and etc. Really, it's a good sign. I think the Joint Commission also coming up nicely in India, and many of the metropolitan city or private hospital, they are going ahead with the Joint Commission International. And I think in India, almost 10 to 15 Joint Commission International accredited hospital. Still, NABH is trying to get accreditation in Tier 3 cities. It's a lot of potential. A lot of smaller group hospitals, they are coming forward for NABH accreditation. Also, the insurance and the government scheme has made it mandatory for the small organization to accredit it with NABH. This is a good sign. It is not merely NABH accredited a title. It is a continuous improvement of your healthcare setting to focus on improvement projects. Let us see other countries, what regulates them quality standards. In UK, you see the CQC standard Care Quality Commission. Every hospital, if you go, without the CQC standard, the manager who works there to be certified. That is a primary requirement for in UK. So ACHC and the Joint Commission, as I mentioned to you, in USA, there are 3-4 organization accreditation agency which monitors the healthcare, which includes Joint Commission, ACHC, and National Dialysis Accreditation Commission. In Australia, Australian Council of Healthcare Standard International, ACHC, Australian General Practice Accreditation, ACPL. So these are all international accreditation which they come forward to monitor and control the quality systems in abroad and India. Next slide. So next topic comes to staying ahead of competition. How to stay ahead of competition in this era? There are so many competition, as I mentioned to you, new entrants and cost variation. How to stay? How to stand in the market? Next, sir. Next. Well, there are 3 key strategies which I wanted to give you how to stand ahead of the competition, which I have gone through the various websites, and it is given by your Forbes magazine, and Forbes have given articulated very nicely. One is keep your competitors inside. Always you have to see the competitor in the loop, analyze how and what is their expectation, how they are doing, how they are going to impress our customers. Always prioritize your R&D and data analysis. As I'm going to tell you about the data analytics and healthcare analytics in future slides, and always invest yourself into R&D and data analysis, which will give you a lot of information for yourself to prepare. The third comes to employee engagement. You see, lot of VUCA world, you know, a lot of employees shuffling from one organization to another organization. What organization looks stronger? Every organization has got the money, every organization has got infrastructure, every organization has got a technology. What makes it so stronger? The organization who have the employee, the valuable employee, highly resourceful employee. So therefore, employee engagement activities are so important to stand in the competent market. Next comes to focus on patient experience. Every day, focus on a patient feedback and experience. Always partner with the distributors. Keep up your technology advance. Enhance your patient care. Invest your innovation in technology. Focus on future. Keep eye on the patient. These are the 10 key strategies which I wanted to tell you. We can, if we focus the 10 key strategies, we can stay ahead of the competition. Next slide. So now we have seen the general key strategies. Now we could see how operationally we can keep ourselves competitive. I can put in 4 E's. The first E comes to effectiveness. How effective your program is, how effective your service is. The next E comes to how effectively you control your expenses. Then how efficient you are, how efficient your doctors, your resources. Then end customer, how you are going to satisfy them. These are 4 elements which makes you operationally competent in other competitors, hospitals or healthcare setting. E, effectiveness, which directly related to availability of service, the right service to the right people. Expenses, how you are going to make your supply chain management control. Are you going to a central distribution system or retail distribution system? Are you going to manage a relationship with the distributors? This all matters. How you are going to eliminate the waste, lean, this all matters. Yeah, the end customer, the patient safety is very important nowadays. Patients are very well knowledge today's world, and we have to ensure the patient safety. Once they walk in until they go, we have to ensure the safety of the patient and continuously focus on the patient safety and the quality management program. The next comes to workforce efficiency. Continuously monitor on the training, highly skilled employment, highly skilled technology, whether it's soft skill technology or technical training, focus on that. Always have keeping advanced technology is a key strategy for keeping yourself competitive in the other competitors. Next slide. What is the 5 key marketing trends today, which is highly successful? Those traditional way of marketing is gone. Yeah, we are living in the digital world. I could see a lot of good response, which I've gone through the websites or which I've gone through the internet. See a lot of people moving toward the social media, and nowadays you see WhatsApp. Thanks to all this digital media, which is available today, otherwise you would not have connected now. See a lot of social media, which is also useful for in a positive way approach. And also we can take the location based marketing, mobile optimization. Nowadays, doctors can give online prescription. In UK, everywhere, every pharmacy, if you go to the pharmacy and you can have an online consultation. Nothing, they don't have to meet the doctor. They have to see if there is anything consultation, or they can call them, and then they'll call you on regular basis, and they'll give the advice on medicines. And it's mobile. You'll get all the parameters, all the your healthcare vitals will come pop up, and the doctor will talk to you and adjust the medicine. And then video marketing. You see a lot of customers today, the customer dynamics have been changed. Before they visit the hospital, they will go to the website. They are seeing a lot of feedback. So video marketing is very much important, and how you focus, how you take it further about your success stories in the social media through the video, this matters. You could see 45% of the consumers, they like video marketing. They like to see the video. So thereby, the content creation, the content writing, or through video or writing is very important. And another interesting aspect is nowadays people are interested in wearing technology, using the watches and see their health fitness, and see their daily monitoring BP and pulse. So we have to focus more into these 4-5 technology oriented or digital oriented marketing strategy, which makes you competitive in the world or competitive in the market. Next slide. Next slide. So the next topic comes to the keeping pace with the technology innovation in healthcare, whether it is artificial intelligence or machine learning, healthcare data analytics. Next slide, sir. Next. So the healthcare analytics, let me take you to the healthcare data analytics. I think I want to tell you the healthcare data analytics is going to be the key factor in future in every hospital and healthcare setting. Without healthcare data analytics, you can't run up, you can't stay in the competitive world. So let me see what is healthcare data analytics. It's a method of systemic data analysis that allows you healthcare professional to find opportunities, improvement in healthcare system management. Whether it's going to be your dashboard or hospital dashboard or MD's dashboard, or whether you're going to be operational efficiency, whether you're going to be healthcare efficiency or medical errors, it's really important. It's a real time, it's a combines real time and historical data to predict trends, how your hospital is performing, how you are going to drive your growth in future, how you are going to do your strategy. Without the healthcare data analytics, it's very difficult, because a lot of data, big data are very much important to manage your hospital, or to improve your systems or improve your trends. Thereby, the more data, better data, more connected data. So please focus on healthcare data analytics, and there are various methodology available, the various certifications are there to do healthcare data analysis or business analysis. It is going to be a hard jobs in future. People who does data analytics or business analytics is going to be hard job. In UK, in Western world, lot of demands for these jobs, and most of the small industries to the big industry, they use data to analyze their hospital performance or their organization performance. Next slide, sir. Next. So what is the benefit of healthcare data analytics in healthcare, in hospital? It improves the quality of the clinical care. Suppose your data says that you are not performing well in the infection control program, or infection is very bad. Last month we have got a ventilator related associated infection is quite high. Then through this data we can improve or do a analysis, root cause analysis, do a fishbone diagram and see where we are standing, and it helps to improve the quality of it. The fundamental aspect of the healthcare data analytics usage is to improve the quality of healthcare. The next comes to the find customer response. How the customer, what kind of customers you are getting on day-to-day basis. What it's mainly what specialty. Is acute care patients are more or chronic patients are more. This data will give you a real-time opportunity to analyze yourself. And then next, data analytics is widely used in community-wide population to inform about the pandemic or disease control or disease management, predict the outbreaks, and also it also access actionable insight that inform future interaction, consumers and population. These are the four aspects of benefits for healthcare data analytics. Therefore, healthcare data analytics are key in any hospital or healthcare providers to focus more on that. Next slide. Next. So we all talk about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is latest technology, but what I found is the artificial intelligence exists for many years. I think I've heard that Aravind Hospital started its artificial intelligence with Harvard Medical University a decade ago to understand how I can identify the disease through the corneal a corneal artificial intelligence link. What is artificial intelligence? The capacity of the computer program to perform tasks or reasoning process that usually associated with the intelligence in the human being. So therefore, more clinical variations, wrong usage, we can identify through the artificial intelligence to lower the variation cost, apply huge quantities of the data through the artificial intelligence. We can find various causes for the errors and causes for the diseases. Let us see in the next slide how the artificial intelligence is going to impact. Next slide, sir. Look at the areas of impact on artificial intelligence again, like healthcare data analytics. It also improves chronic management. It is widely used in chronic management, artificial intelligence. This artificial intelligence technology will identify Alzheimer's disease, which can identify the early symptoms, which I have put it in my next slide. Then it also helps to identify self-care prevention. It also helps our clinical decision. For some time, doctors to decide whether this disease can be cured in a different way, or we can operate, or in a conventional method we can do it. So this all clinical decision can be taken with modern technology, and it also helps in triage and diagnosis, and various aspects of artificial intelligence, which is going to be very much useful. Innovative technology is going to dominate in the market in future. In next 10 years, artificial intelligence is going to be the key factor in determining our healthcare operations. Next slide, sir. Next slide. As I mentioned to you, I think I have seen in some articles that artificial intelligence could also detect dementia before symptoms. indirectly or directly, which also helps our prevention or delay of the death. Age-related problems which can identify early and see you are going towards the dementia, so prevent yourself. This is a wonderful technology which is in a modern science that invented, and also all technologies and the artificial intelligence or machine learning has got own pitfalls, and also there are some issues which you have to see very seriously. The pitfalls of machine learning in healthcare, like training and testing on the data, is not clinically meaningful. Lack of independent blinded evaluation on real world data, narrow application that cannot generate the clinical use, inconsistent means measuring performance of all algorithms, and it may give unpublished, untested, and unvariety of results. Also, it has got an equivalent to ethical issues. Who is responsible if the data shows wrong, or if not, or if AI do mistakes? So there's a lot of legal impacts are there. So doctor is responsible, or who is responsible, or machine is responsible. A lot of things to be challenged and analyzed when technology grows. So also, it's also we have to focus on other aspects of technology effects. Next slide, sir. So the next topic comes to we are into the pandemic situation. Thereby, the leadership is very much important, key in this kind of pandemic and unprecedented situation. So, what kind of leadership we are going to expect? What kind of leadership is required for post-COVID? Especially, I don't know when it's going to be over, but we need to prepare ourselves as a leader to manage to fight against the pandemic COVID-19. So let me take you through next slide, sir. Next. So what impacted? You all know there are many implications happened due to COVID-19. In past 8 months, we are facing this problem. Actually, mainly it affected the health crisis, created a health crisis in all over the world. Even the developed countries, they are not able to manage. They are not able to meet the requirements. The next crisis comes to the economic recession. How is going to be implemented? Already there are some data, research shows that the gain versus poverty estimated 100 million in extreme poverty. 100 million people may go to the extreme poverty. The next concern, the impact, the people's health, well-being, livelihoods are affected. There are many people are unemployed. So how are we going to manage? How our leadership is going to be helpful in managing all those challenges? The next comes to climate crisis. Adverse impact of 19 severe storms and heat waves and food crisis may come in future. How we are going to prepare ourselves to meet those requirements? In the next slide, sir. Next slide, sir. So I have read in Forbes magazine has released 7 leadership traits that for post-COVID-19, which I wanted to give you the same and explain you. The COVID-19 has not only changed the world, but also changed the DNA of the workplace ecosystem in many ways. Our leaders must change and lead efficiently with a new era. What are the 7 leadership traits? One is counter. The candor is honesty without ambiguity. The consistent, reliable, fact-based communication. Coronavirus task force to be created in each hospital or in each regional level, and we need a regular briefing until it gets controlled. Yes, of course, the third point which comes to empathy, leaders who are not naturally empathetic, they should surround themselves with others who can help fill their gap. So we need to be very empathetic in this pandemic area. Managing hybrid teams, reduce the cost and create effectiveness by developing more extensive virtual working infrastructure. So no more traditional meetings, and every day we can go for a virtual meetings, which we need to be engaged ourselves with a team, with the hybrid technology, or we have to prepare ourselves. The next comes to flexibility and adaptability. Leaders will need to avoid temptation and to stick decision and attempt to appear decisive. instead to willing regular review nivara. The next comes to humility. It takes strong leader to respond difficult questions. They have to admit that I should say I don't know or I'll find out. This step aside the podium allow expert field most questions. Pandemic is very important situation. It taught us to be humiliated aspect. Active listening to understand rather than listening to respond. This is the 7 leadership traits which hopes have enlisted post COVID, which is so important in our areas. Next. So we have seen the traits of the leadership. Now how the business leaders can prepare for a new reality. What you have to do as a hospital or healthcare provider, what are the key aspects that you have to be prepared in this unprecedented times? The first thing comes to cash. In a private organization, we have to focus on reserve and protect cash. Because the economic shutdown, there are many hospitals that are struggling to manage or struggling to run their operation or profit and loss variability. So reserve your protected cash. The next topic comes to test workforce contingency plans. During any disruption, ensuring employee safety is very important, and every business leader should focus on their employers' safety and health and safety is very important. There is the second point they have to, as a business leader, we have to focus. Next comes to diversify your supply chains. Traditionally you might have got a single supplier, who's providing various materials and supplies to your organization. Now you have to see diversify. The specialized supply chain players you have to approach. Thereby you can control your cost. You can keep your balance sheet alive or healthy. The next comes to exchange rate risk. We have to focus after the COVID crisis. The interest rate may go cut and then exchange rate go vary. So you have to be prepared. These are all, as a business leader, you have to focus and protect your economy of the organization, which is so important for a private organization. The next, strategically, how you are going to manage your organization post-COVID. Think strategically about how to deal with the revenue loss. Suppose you are going to have another 6 months, the same kind of balance sheet, same kind of profit and loss, you are going to get it, how you are going to manage, how you are going to diversify. That is very important. Collaborate internally and externally, and recruit, engage, retain top physician and nurse. Understand the role of technology and improve your technology. Accept the criticism from the patient and public and others. Data becomes more transparent. Lead people through difficult times, including communicating change, sense of urgent without frightening staff. Help to develop next level leaders. Leaders always develop, not a followers. Leaders should always develop a leaders. Display a new level of business acumen. These are all the strategies or the points which is helps to stay in the competition post COVID-19. The next slide. So finally, we talk about the leadership. What is a successful leadership success formula? It's IQ plus EQ plus CQ. IQ is intelligent quotient, and the next comes to EQ, emotional intelligence. As a manager, as a leader, this is very important. Day to day, we manage with a multi-complexity, challenging situation. So emotional intelligence is very important. It's a key factor for every leader. CQ, creativity quotient. People ready to take a risk and not afraid to try. It all comes to EQ plus EQ plus CQ come to a good leader. Leading is everything in this turbulent and unprecedented times. Next slide. So, ladies and gentlemen, I like this proverb, or I like this quote. Winston Churchill quoted, "A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, and an optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty." So we are living in the difficulty times. We see the opportunity in difficult times. Thank you so much for providing me this time. I have made as much as simple possible. Thank you. For any queries we can discuss. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Arif, sir, for briefing about the leadership during the crisis time. So
Thank you.
I request directly to the another speaker, Dr. Jayar Association, sir, to the presentation on this topic.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Welcome. Please carry on.
Shall I get my slides, sir?
Yes, sir. Yeah. 1 second.
Good evening, the leaders, Mr. Malalingam, Professor Ramakrishnan, sir, and Mr. Rathanan, sir, for providing the opportunity. And I welcome you all, the leaders who are all here, because we are all leaders here. We are leading some organizations. At least we are leading our home. Otherwise, we are leading ourselves. So we are leaders. So we have to walk. We have to go. So as Thirukural rightly explained, because since I am the person from Tamil Nadu, Tamil is my mother tongue. Karviyum kalavum seyyum seyyum arivinayum maandad amichu. The role of governance is to empower the instruments, the time, the operational strategy, and the type of action. The role of governance, there is a role of governance in the sense it's a leadership. Leadership is empower the instruments, the time, the operational strategy, and the type of action. So with all the things, we have to go. Next slide. So as Arif sir explained, how we have to respond that COVID period, and what is my thing is, I just explain you how we have to respond to recover. What the situation here is unpredictable. How we have to recover? Interior normal. What is the implication? Start by defining the destination at the end of recover. So what is the focus? Inward looking. What is that recover? To recover, we have to market facing. What is the implication? Articulate the destination as a stakeholders outcome. We have to focus on our customers. That management respond is crisis management. To recover, what we have to focus, we have to go for program management. That is, what is the implication? The recover PMO maybe need a different skill set. So then planning, what is the thing is from respond, contingency planning, we have to recover in the sense it's a scenario planning. What is the implication? Model to align functional resource to the ramp up of operations. What is the attitude? We have to reacting, and what is the recover? We have to reinventing. What is the implication? Opportunity to energize team by imagining successful future and embracing trust in the catalyst. So this is in this period what leader must understand the mindset shift from the respond to recover. The next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the transformation approaches to sustainability. What is the transformation approaches? From to, that is risk focused, to opportunity focused. Companies are sustainable through the lens of disruption and risk, focusing on how sustainability could damage the company's bottom line. So what we have to go? We have to go for opportunity focus. That is companies, that hospitals are sustainability through the lens of growth and opportunity. That second point is opaque. That is, companies do not reveal information about their sustainability. But what we need is, we have to go to the transparent. We have to, that hospitals have to adopt technology, because Doctor explained about the technology of hospitals very elaborately. So we have to adopt the technology to enable the transparency and openly discuss the sustainability. Then third point, we have to profit driven. We have to stand to create long-term value for all stakeholders. So the fourth one is enterprise focus. Enterprise approaches operate within a company's traditional boundaries, or where we have to go ecosystem focused. Ecosystem approaches aim to wider ecosystem. So the next one, fifth one is the consultative, and we have to go for collaborative. That model adopts a do not harm approach to the sustainability, but regenerative, that approach we have to do not do more good than harm. That is the approach for that regenerative thing. Then linear, seventh one is linear. From linear we have to go to the circular. So linear hospitals, a linear approach take more consume waste, but circular adopt a circular model within the aim of preventing the things. The next slide. What today's topics are allotted for me is diversity. The first one is diversity. Diversity. We are having the diversity with ethnic, racial, gender, generational, experiential, cognitive. That each and everything I want to explain here. Gender partiality is in an executive shoot in many physician specialties, and the clinical leader continues to be a challenge. Underscoring the gap is the fact that women make 80% of medical buying decisions and are 65% of industrial workforce. This is the gender parity, that is gender parity is there. Ethnic and racial positive strides have been made, yet minority participation in key leadership positions is lower than desired. The slow progress is glaring since it is estimated that minorities represent close to 1/3 of all patients. Generational, there are now 5 generations in workforce: traditionalists, baby boomers, Generation X, the largest cohort, that is millennial, and Generation Z. Numerical diversity is clearly becoming a reality in the case, as one catalyst observes, attracting and retaining top talent of every age and empowering them to do the valuable and rewarding work with redesigned workplaces to accommodate their diverse age-related needs and interests. Then experimental. Today, healthcare organizations are complex and changing. Leaders need a broad range of skills and ability to bring different experience to issues. Building diversity of background has assumed greater prominence, including seeking talent outside the healthcare industry and forming community partnership. Cognitive, a growing cause of leaders and researchers is stressing the need to foster rich diversity of thought, often labeled cognitive diversity. Organizations what they want, teams with diverse points of view to enhance decision making and encourage the creativity and innovation demanded by increasing competitive and changing market. For all categories, the ultimate aim is more than achieving specific numbers. Rather, it is from inclusive institutions that create equity for all constituents. As a chief diversity officer, one gentleman explained that the end goal of diversity and inclusion has to be equity for individuals in the workforce, for healthcare delivery and patient outcomes and experience. The next slide. So, drivers affecting diversity. What are the drivers that affect the diversity? First one is population health management. What is population health management? Provide us with homogeneous leadership teams and physicians who do not reflect the communities they find it difficult to address those social determinants and move to the needle on racial and ethnical health disparities. So first driver is the population health management, second one is rising consumerism. One of the most powerful trends in the rising consumer orientation of patients. From high deductible health plans to an array of retail care alternatives, the motivation to approach healthcare like other consumer choices is mounting. Studies shows that patients are more comfortable working with caregivers who are like themselves and will increasing favor like diverse organizations who deliver culturally component care. They are much like the people who like themselves, favor diverse organization who deliver culturally component care. That talent shortages, one of the driver of diversity, that healthcare faces well documented current and looming shortages of physicians, nurses, and many types of leaders. At the same time, the labor market is hyper competitive. As our Arif sir told that though we are India, we are having a lot of shortages. Even if you compare the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, all the BRICS nations, India is having very high in number in maternal mortality rate, and we are comparing with our neighbor country Sri Lanka. Our bed population rate is very low. Bed population and doctors population rate is very low. Even we don't have any formal registry for the disease like a rare disease and all. So even we are having a lot of deficiencies. India is the number one country. India is the only one country which is offering that universal plan. That is our for the below poverty line. Government is introducing that insurance scheme. There is a government supportive scheme in the whole nation. India is the only one country giving that thing. So with all that thing, and one another thing is India is having the fourth owner. That is, if you rank the owners of the healthcare organization, India is having the fourth biggest owner, that is biggest employer. But here also we are having we don't have any sufficient labor, sufficient manpower. So at that time, the talent shortages will be there. That is, the talent shortages also the drivers of the effective drivers of the diversity. So digital transformation, another thing. Harnessing technology effectively to deliver value-based care is imperative. That will take a workforce of tomorrow characterized by a span of generations, background, and creative perspectives. Then the next slide. This is actually the business case of the diversity according to Fred Hobby. He is the president of CEO of the Institute of Diversity in Health Management in Chicago. Comprises the following things. Diversity in the sense that is employee perspective, patient focus, inclusion, community perspective. What is that employee perspective? Employee perspective, diversity management creates an environment where every hospital or health system employee feels valued, appreciated, and who in turn talks about organization within the community with pride. Diversity management allows 100% of employees, whatever their capabilities, to achieve 100% of potential, 100% of time. This is the employee perspective. Then patient focus, diversity management creates an environment where, because of all the patients feel values, they are highly satisfied and loyal. Diversity management means understanding the cultural and ethnic values with the community. Community members choose in the organization which increase market share. This is the patient focus. Then inclusions. Diversity management means sending a message to minorities that are the leaders within the organization to champion their medical needs. If a minority patient knows that COO shares his or her ethnicity, for example, then the patient assumes his or her best interest will be served. Community perspective, the next one is community perspective. Diversity management means bringing the community into the organization, specifically at the governance level, putting prominent minority leaders to the hospital or health board progress bond with the community, which in turn creates patient comfort with the loyalty to the organization. So this is the business case given by Fred Hobby, President and CEO of the Institute of Diversity in Health Management in Chicago. The next slide, please. IAF model of aspiration, that is aspirational future approaches. That is, what is IAF? That is Institute of Alternate Futures. Institute of Alternate Futures. They are explaining that model, that is aspirational future approach. That model. They are considered the four main important things. One is most likely or expectable path for health service and policy research diversity. That is, in that diagram, in that thing, you can see that expectable, challenging, and visionary. That expectable way you have to choose in the sense what will happen. Acceptable path for that will lead to that health service and policy research. That is HSR, research diversity will lead. Then second thing, that challenging. The third thing, challenging path that considers some of many things that could go wrong. The third one you have to take in the sense it will go for wrong. A visionary or surprisingly success path driven by internal movements towards HSR, that is health service and policy research, workforce diversity within the field. It will lead to the success and it will move to the good one. A second visionary path, this is only driven more by external forces, because if you take that challenging one, it will go for failure. Again, you have to go for the second visionary path. Next slide, please. So diversity leadership is having multiple. They are having that prolonged effort. They have to take the effort. What are the effort they have to take in the sense? Make diversity as a strategic goal. They have to take the goal. They have to take the diversity as a strategic role. That what is the thing is, employees, the medical staff, and the management must see the strategic value of the diversity, or it go nowhere. Think about diversity more as a way of doing business than the program or initiative. Second one is establish organizational sensitive. We have to create an extensive training and education program around cultural competency and diversity training, including processes. And third one is mentor minorities and provide opportunities for professional development, including leadership training. Many minorities survive, appreciates their own responsibilities to mentor and develop their peers. The fourth one is promote from within. The key for diversity leadership to cultivate candidates with leadership potential from all positions up through the ranks, allowing for risk at lower positions first, then mentoring in the larger positions. This is the thing. What that diversity leadership is put their effort. That fifth one is seek out young people graduate from high school and colleges to expose them to the healthcare as a careers. We have to expose them to the career. This is healthcare, what is going on here, and we have to expose them. Then train students in healthcare graduate program to be the healthcare leaders, not just as managers. We have to train the students as a leaders. Don't train them as a managers. And provide internship fellowship for graduate students in MBA, MHA program. That we have to do. Then find networking opportunities, network among CEOs so that they will able to brainstorm together and share ideas. Then coming to finding diverse leaders. A recurring theme in research is perceived lack of minority candidates. So we sure hospital and systems must be convinced that finding minority leader in the priority in the leadership recruitment. So these are all the things a leader should consider in the diversity leader should consider. The next slide, please. Diversity roundable. These are all fixed one. That what our government, Indian government, the hospital system, everything is the fixed one. What we have to change, where the change is needed. The change is needed from That from leader, what they have to take the changes, strong recommendation roadmap, new partners, action discoveries, honest disclosures, honest conversation, take on the role of make a difference. How can my organization use my recommendations? These are all the considerations that leader has to be taken, and the remaining things are fixed. You should not change the remaining things. The government, everything you should not change. The next slide, please. That resource deployment, how we have to deploy that resource. This is the second topic given for me. The leading and managing practices. Actually, we are having that resource we have to take in the sense 5 M's: men, money, machine, material, methods. How you are going to deploy that men yourself. So how you are going to deploy, that is the thing. Leading and managing practices. Leading is can, focus, align, and inspire. Managing, you have to plan, organize, implement, monitor, and evaluation. Go for improved work climate and improved management systems. Improved capacity to respond to change. What is the result? Improved services, improved health outcomes. Improved health outcome is the output. Input is your research. The process is what in our hospital we are doing. So everything will give the result as good health outcome. The next slide, please. That critical and analytical thinking. That is the third topic given for me. The objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order and the form of a judgment. How you are going to critically analyze the thing. Evidence, assumptions, briefs, experience, knowledge. That you have to make the question. Question is the first thing where you have to make the analytical thinking. Issue, claim, problem, task, statement. Then through that you have to make the questions. Then claim, statement, start, everything will be processed. Then it will go for maybe it will go for misunderstanding, it will go for reallocate your question, it will go for lack of focus, just pondering to know the answers with the questions. This, as a leader, you may face all the things. So what you have to do, again you have to shape your question. Then you have to go again. And disposition, open-minded, search for the truth, inquiring, fair and balanced view of own and others' work. These are all the things you have to do, and you have to get the output. Then input, output of the healthcare critical thinking. The next slide, please. This is the input, output of your healthcare thinking. That is clinical knowledge. What we are having the clinical knowledge, management knowledge and skills, or is the experience. This will lead to your critical thinking, that is reflective thinking, context and situation. What is going on in particular, because every day, every time we can handle different type of cases in hospital. So that that context and the situation, it will change every time. So intentional outcome goal. So based upon your clinical knowledge, management knowledge and skills, experience, you have to go for the critical thinking. And critical thinking go for the consequences of empirical refinement. That is achievement of goals, satisfaction of the role, advancement of the practice, patient satisfaction, staff satisfaction, quality of care or budget, and your manager retention and manager recruitment, advancement, evidence-based practice. The next slide, please. Critical thinking, despite of all the difference emanating from all these schools of thought, there is an agreement of some fundamental facts that of creating critical thinking, most of which recognize the various behavior and the dispositions that critical thinker must possess. Two things. One is abilities: analyzing arguments, claims, or evidence; judging or evaluating based on evidence; making inferences; using inductive or deductive reasoning; making decisions and or solving problems through reasoning. Then dispositions: open-mindedness, searcher of truth, inquiration, fair and balanced view of one's work of others. The next slide, please. Bloom's taxonomy. That is for critical thinking. For writing, we are using this Bloom's taxonomy. Here, the knowledge is the bottom thing. The knowledge, what we have to do, exhibit memory of previous learned material by recalling information, fundamental facts and terms, as well as discovery through observing and locating. What are the key points we have to put here? Who, what, find, define, recall. What is there? Our knowledge is going to search. Then comprehension, demonstrate understanding of facts and ideas by organizing, comparing, translating, interpreting, giving descriptions, and stating main ideas. This is comprehension, the next thing. That is compare, contrast, explain, discuss. These are all the key points what we have to focus on this stage. The third stage is application. Solve problems in new situation by applying acute knowledge, facts, techniques, and rules in different or in a new way. Key points what we have to note here is plan, build, experiment, design, solve, interview. These are all the key points we have to note in this stage. Then the next thing is analysis. Examine and break information into parts by identifying motivates or causes, make inferences, and find evidence to support generalizations. What is the key word here we have to note? Examine, infer, compare, contrast. Compare, contrast, infer, examine. Synthesis, that is the next step. Compile information together in a different way by combining elements in a new pattern of proposing alternate solutions. What are the key words we have to focus here? Compose, construct, create, design, develop, formulate. What is the next one? The final one is evaluation. This is also denoted as critical evaluation. That is denoted as critical evaluation, often used to emphasize the depth of evaluation required. What you have to do, you will be required to present and define opinions by making judgments about the information, the validity of ideas, or quality of work based on set of criteria. So here you have to compare, justify, prove, disprove, or deduct. These are all the things what you have to do in the Bloom's taxonomy. This is very important for writing everything in the sense the critical analysis. Bloom's taxonomy is very important. The next one, next slide. The next topic is collaboration. What is collaboration here? There are a lot of definitions for collaborations. In a leadership point of view, collaborations involves multiple people interacting to achieve a common goal, consists of social inputs and task inputs. It's an active and ongoing partnership between professionals and institutions with diverse backgrounds and mandates who work together to provide services. It's a process that involves cooperation, communication, negotiation, trust, respect, and understanding to build a synergistic alliance that maximizes the contributions of each participant. Then involves constructing both a collective action to address complex patient needs and an interprofessional team relations involving respect and trust. The other way is a process of working together, negotiating agreement, and managing conflict, and both valuing and understanding one another. That another way involves work together, share planning over time, function cooperatively, and colleagues and equal with respect and view to find solutions together. The next way what we have to take is a dynamic transformation process of creating a power sharing partnership for purposeful attention to needs and problems to achieve likely successful outcomes, and it's an efficient, effective, satisfying way to offer health services through the process by which interdependent professionals are structuring a collective actions towards patients' care needs. This is something brief about that collaboration. That the next slide, please. So, what is the teamwork and collaboration? This is the difference here. A collaborative team not only has to work well together, but it is also adopt a shared set of beliefs and values among team members. Every member needs to think and feel the same. This is also there is no fixed leader, which means everyone has to equal importance success of a project or that aim, that is their objective. Everybody is the responsible person. Collaborators must respect each other and maintain trust in their teammates in the absence of a leader. and collaborators, they must flexible since plans change all time due to team members and the freedom to suggest ideas. Collaborators are require high independence as there is no defined work on task board, unlike teams with leaders. So what is the main thing is members work towards a common goal. Here, collaboration members work towards a there also members work towards a common goal. Their actions are independent and committed to the goal. This is demand sharing. This is the difference in collaboration. Key element is control here, and key element is trust here in collaboration. The next slide, please. What is the importance? What is the importance over there? Why the collaboration is important in any organization? What is important in the sense that is improved problem solving? That collaboration improved problem solving. How business come across of problems every day. Customers may ask of something you have never done before. This will collaboration. Here the collaboration will help. Studies have proven time and time again the collaborative problem solving is effective in overcoming organization barriers in companies in all sizes. Employees who mesh well with each other can bounce ideas between themselves to solve business problems. By combining the knowledge and experience of team members, you are likely to come up with a craftly solutions to get tasks back on the track. Then better team communication, what is the thing? The second thing is for business, what is the importance? Better team communication. Good communication is essential for success of any business because all of us know communication is important for everything. It does not take an expert to figure out why communication is important. Better problem solving, more productive work, and fewer fallouts are just some of the benefits you get from strong employee communications. Then third one is greater employee engagement. Happy employees will perform better at work. Not only is this great for your business, but it also promotes a jovial work culture that extends across the entire organization. Highly engaged hospitals or companies earn 21% more than the average company, will while also enjoying higher retention and lower turnout rates. Then fourth one is that more efficient work. There are many working styles to experiment within the business world for more projects. However, collaborative teamwork is best choice in terms of efficiency. Collaborative teams can also come up with the innovative ideas as creativity is correlated to collaboration. Since everyone has strength, team members can chime with suggestions that build up to one creative solution. This prevents the predicted project plates often seen in the teams. The next, this is the benefit gained by the with the employment, that is 2.5 times greater revenue growth, 2 times annual net income, 62 times less accidents, 50 percentage fewer absence days, that is absenteeism is minimized, and 40% reduced employee turnover, 24% higher net promoter score, 80% higher productivity, 12% higher customer advocacy. This is the benefit what we are getting. For the next slide, for employees, because of the collaboration, what are the things we have to, what are the advantages we are getting? That better colleague relationship. Unsurprisingly, team with harmonious relationship having better perform better at work. That is a study conducted by Virgin discovered that 70% of the employees say that they are having friends in the office in the most important contributor to their work satisfaction. Knowledge sharing, that is the next one. Having teams with different skill sets and expertise can do wonders for your employees' growth. That is, team members can pick up knowledge from their colleagues. So that is knowledge sharing. Also, we can get from that from the collaboration. Happier workers, as a relationship between your team members grows stronger, employee morale increases. That is because of that we have to get the stronger workers. So these are all the advantages of that collaboration. The next slide, please. Four critical elements of this collaboration. There's four critical elements that are coordination, that is working to achieve shared goals. That is a very critical one, but we have to do. Advantages we can get easily, but the critical part, that operations part, we have to do first. Then only we have to get the advantages. Then second one is cooperation, contributing to the team, understanding and valuing the contributors of other team members. That is very important. We have to understand them first. Third one is shared decision making, relying on negotiation, communication, openness, trust, and respectful power balance. Fourth one is partnership, open, respectful relationship, cultivated over time in which all members work equitably together. That is very important. These four are the critical factors in any collaboration. Then next slide. That learning and collaboration. That learning, conceptual relationship between the learning and collaboration, learning behavior and the collaborative behavior. Learning behavior, initiating, interpreting, integrating, institution. That is knowledge and sharing behavior you will get. And in collaborative behavior, coordination, shared decision making, cooperation, partnership. Here also shared behavior and skill judgments you will get. From learning to collaborative, we have to go for knowledge to skills. So all this learning behavior and collaborative behavior will be driven by determinants of the learning, determinants of sharing, determinants of collaboration. These are all the things what we have to make. If you are having the determinants to learn, you can go for learning behavior. Determinants of collaboration, you can go for collaboration. If sharing, you can go for sharing. On the next slide. This is the multifunctional team. Multifunctional team in the sense, serial workflow, that is functional unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. From unit 1 to unit 2, unit 2 through unit 3, that work output will come. The next slide, please. This is the interdisciplinary team, that is functional work. This is the collaborative workflow. This is the collaborative workflow from functional 1, individual, functional 2, individual, functional 3. All the people are in the same area, work input and work output. So we can get some synergetic effects. So the next slide, please. What is the potential benefit we can get from that collaborative practices? Quality of care. Quality of care, cause and effect relationship between the collaborative team behavior and particular outcomes. Sharing of information. Qualitative collaborative teams are reported to demonstrate improved sharing of evidence-based practices. The consensus among healthcare experts from a variety of professions and perspectives. These are all the quality of care benefits we can get for collaborative practice. Then patient safety benefits. Fostering collaborative teams may also benefit staff and the organizations that work in. Staff selection and retention is higher in health organizations where staff members engage in collaborative culture of quality and safety. Other benefits of staff including greater perception of empowerment and recognition. Higher collaborative, higher performance teams may also drive value and process improvement, innovation, initiative and performance, increase work engagement and reduce staff absenteeism. The next one, that is, go to the next slide. That is a determinants of collaborative. Determinants, that first one is structural in the sense opportunity, structural determinants. The physical and organization environment in which an interdisciplinary team operates can impact the degree and nature of collaborative interactions. Environment can be taken to include physical spaces, temporal arrangements, schedules, processes, organized activities, and communication tools that may either encourage or discourage effective team collaboration. Organization structure can include the architectural consideration, that is physical structure, functionality, and aesthetics, and managerial considerations define relationship between team members and between teams, and as both formal and informal parts. Then next one is that the educational determinants, that is ability. Collaborative practice may also be promoted through education and skills training, interviews with nurses and allied health professionals, revealed that the development of two competencies with important to collaboration. The first competency involves understanding role boundaries and expectations with the team and how balance the need of professional identify the identity. An approach that de-emphasizes individual professionals need to role in favor of team goals and collaboration may actually promote a good patient care model of care. The first one is understanding the role boundaries and expectations, and next one is the need of the personal identity and the team identity. That is the next one. Then the next slide, please. How to increase the collaboration among employees? How to increase the collaboration among employees? Establish a shared vision, communicate expectations, and set clear boundaries as a leader. What you have to make, and reward collaborative efforts. Encourage risk taking. Maybe all the things are self-explanatory, so there is no need of much explanation here, I hope. Don't focus solely on work. You should not focus solely on work. Socializing outside hours, outside work hours, that is also needed here. Recognize your employees' strength. No two people are alike, so you have to recognize your employees' strength. Lead by example. Initiate and demonstrate cooperative behavior. That is lead by example. Invest in collaboration tools. Collaboration is the biggest obstacle to remote work, and establishing teamwork in today's digital age can be challenging, especially for remote employees who may not have meet their colleagues daily. 70% of employees place collaboration as the biggest obstacle to remote work, according to the in-depth survey by Buffer. That is the thing. And the next slide, please. What makes up good collaboration? What makes up a good collaboration? I can communicate with my colleague easily. If you are ready to communicate with your colleague easily, responsibilities are clear, who is doing what. I can communicate in the sense responsibility will clear. Then I can trust colleagues to do good work. I can trust my colleagues what they are doing. Every time I won't interfere in their work. Everyone agrees on the goal or outcome. We should focus on our objective. I get along well with my colleagues on the personal level. I know about my colleagues, so I get along with them. So that is very important here. The next slide, please. Lessons from leaders on expansion or architects. That is a final topic is given for me. That is one, consider an engagement before marriage. You have to consider an engagement. You have to take a marriage. There is often a misunderstanding regarding possibilities of hospital and healthcare system pre-merger. For instance, some hospitals agree to let the acquiring facility manage to a handful of service of couple of years. They can eliminate any cultural setbacks that may be ahead while allowing both entities to see if an extended relationship is their best interest. Encourages management or other affiliation models before jumping the gun on the sale or merger. Successful models are the boards discuss and say, we would like to merge, we think it will happen, but let's get engaged before we get married. This is so that we have to consider engagement before marriage. It makes sense to integrate some things immediately. If hospitals have made a decision to merge or affiliate, some components of each hospital can be integrated immediately or pre-merger. Third one is, many integration issues are not operational but cultural. Mergers often begin with a keen focus on the strategic reasons behind it, which can then fall to the back burner as operational tasks grow in number and importance. So strategic thinking has to continue post-merger. Benefit to each side should be balanced and recognized throughout the transaction. That hospital mergers or acquisitions are the delicate relationship, so solidity it prevent, disturb, or apprehension. Both parties should be reminded of balance of benefits as they move through the transaction. So fifth one is hospitals communication team is often to put to the test. Con- Consolidations or transactions can spur strong community reactions and thus public relationship concerns for the hospital. An excellent communication staff, however, can prevent roadblocks by recognizing community leadership and ensuring their involvement. So sixth one is cultural shift won't occur overnight, but subtle changes help staff transaction. We have to the cultural shift should not make immediately. So what we have to do, various approaches to take when it comes to cultural changes. So it is not happen immediately. The seventh one is be wary of word synergy. What is synergy first? 1 plus 1 is not equal to 2. That is synergy. 1 plus 1, either it should be greater than 2 or less than 2. One employee with another employee, their work output may be less than two employee or greater than 2 employee. That is the synergetic effect. So be wary of the word synergy. Mergers can oversell their synergetic benefits such as lower cost, expenses saving, or operating leverages. Then 8, there has been a focus shift to quality measures rather than the financial advantages. Focus has recently shifted from financial advantages to quality area. So hospitals boards are increasingly looking at the quality results and turning to the larger systems. Then a successful merger experience can be selling point for the future hospital relationship. When choosing a partnership or acquirer, hospitals will want to know what expertise candidates have in the hospital transactions. Few hospitals have left the system since they joined. Then final one is physician relationships are determining factor. Hospital physician relationship has been discussed as a criteria or influential factors when hospitals go to the market. That is very important when we are going for a merger. So these are all the 10 points we have to consider for the expansion and the mergers. The next one. Next slide. So uncovering opportunities. This is the final one what I have to explain to you. With all these things, what are all the uncovering opportunities the leaders is having to grow? One is turn up the heat. When leaders are confronted with unfamiliar challenges, complex issues, competing stakeholders' demand, or high-risk situations, they can often feel under fire. Heat experience simulate the scenario to help leaders build the skills to handle hot situations. The aim is to expose leaders to scenario that disturbs their habitual way of thinking and then ask them to solve it with the help of people who have different outlooks, ideas, and backgrounds. So next one is be clear on narrative. Each mining organization should be clear on diversity narrative. That is, each organization has to be should be clear on diversity narrative. We have to clear on narrative. That is, organization specific to their purpose and people. Why we are there? Why what they have to do? That is very specific. Then third one is involve people. The people who do the work are often best placed to identify the skills they require to succeed. Find ways to involve leaders in the design and implementation of leadership programs. Then explain the difference between the diversity and inclusions before exploring the diversity in the workforce. It is important to understand the relationship with the diversity and inclusion. Diversity will generally not drive any real change without inclusivity. Hiring people from the diverse background simply a target achieves nothing. The value of workplace diversity lies in people bringing diversity in experience and thought to workplace or project. But diverse thoughts and ideas will never get here that alone used to benefit businesses. If people are included and their opinions are valued, to empower leaders to foster true inclusivity, educate them about different religion, different cultural practices, facing people of various ages, gender, sexual orientations, physical and mental disabilities, even challenges are facing new parents. That is, this is the uncover opportunities what leader is having. The next one. Next slide. A recovery playback because we are in the COVID thing. What is the recovery we have to make? in that scenario. One is outcome recovery. What is that? Recovery in the sense recapture revenue and expand into new organic opportunities for top line growth, customer experience and profit margin. What is the core strategy? Should we engage customers acquisition or maintenance? This is the core strategy. Increase margins and profitability, adjust cost structures and investments. We have to go for should we manage for profit or resilience. The third one is optimize assets, liabilities, and liquidity. What is the description? Curative the assets portfolio, including the transactions, strengthen the balance sheet, and align the capital structure. Should we operate for cash or profit? That is the question we have to make. That accelerate digital transformation, accelerate digital capacities to enable growth, decrease cost, and progress further as a insights-driven organization. How can we move faster towards digital transformation? That is the core strategy we have to do. Support the workforce and operating structure. That's the next one. Outcome. Align the work and the workforce and the workplace. As well, operating models, business models, and alliances to deliver the required plan. Then what is the strategic question? How has the social contract with workers changed? The next one is, do we have right operating structures and alliances in place or deliver the plan? Then the final one is that manage stakeholder expectation, manage and fulfill stakeholders' expectations while proactively addressing risk. Then what is the core strategy? How have social and institutional expectations changed? So what we have to do, these are all the important things what we have to do for the leaders uncovering opportunities in future. You have to give the solution for that. What is the next slide? Next slide, please. Present is pleasant. Here, what as a leader here, what you are saying is relevant to the people who are talking to. And now what you are saying is related to your current experience. There and then, as a leader, you are going to say there in the sense, what you are saying is relevant to the people you are not talking to. That is not relevant to the people you are not talking to. Then, in some other place, then some other days you are talking that what you are saying has little to do with your current experience. At that current experience, what you are saying is not pleasant at that time. So then next slide, please. With that, I can conclude my presentation. Thank you for your patient hearing. One individual may die, but that idea will, after his death, incarnate itself in 1,000 lives. So this is my interesting words. The words I like. With this, I can conclude. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Professor J. Rajsekhar and Dr. Arif, sir, for a very sound, comprehensive, and critical analysis of the leadership excellence, as also the kind of challenges that are facing not only healthcare, but all the industry today during the pandemic. That was an excellent exposition on all aspects involved. I thank both our dignified speakers for exposing us to this kind of wonderful presentations. Now, if there are questions, we'll take about 5 minutes. Please register your questions. As stated earlier, please type it out, and the experts will try to clarify your doubts, if any.
I think there is no any question from the delegates.
Yeah, looks like.
Yeah. Once again, thank you very much for the two important and eminent speakers for the day, Dr. J.R.S. sir and Dr. Arif sir, for their excellent presentation on the given topic. Sir, I am very happy and thank you very much for the present is pleasant at the end of the presentation. And thank you very much. And I thank Dr. Arif sir for your leadership success formula, IQ, EQ, and CQ. And healthcare data analytics is very important for now. So it is one of the emerging subject in nowadays, including that artificial intelligence in healthcare and digital and other things like that. And 4 E's also very, very important for healthcare. And taking both speakers highlighted about taking this a critical time as an opportunity. Okay, instead of taking as a like any disadvantage, for taking this especially the current corona crisis time, we will convert this as an excellent model. We take this as an opportunity to go for new normal way and make the healthcare a professional, new thinking, new prospectus, and whatnot. So on behalf of our academy and our senior management teams and on behalf of all other delegates, we wish to thank our 2 speakers, Dr. Jaya Rajashekharan sir once again, and Dr. Arif sir. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. If any question comes, we will send in the form by email, and we will have a clarification and send it back to the delegates. Mr. Rathinan sir would like to say anything? Please go ahead.
I just want to thank both the speakers for delivering excellence. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We will conclude the session now with both the speaker permission. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Arif and Professor Jaya Rajashekharan.
Thank you.
You have provided us an
Thank you.
excellent
Thank you.
evening,
Thank you. Thank you very
full
much,
of knowledge,
Mahan.
wisdom. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Arif. And if you're able to combine both the presentations,
Thank you. Thank you.
and if you can put it to practice, that will make for excellence in leadership in healthcare.
Sure,
Thank you so
sure.
much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.